to do here today is have the intention of holding the space, holding the light, and helping to shift the timeline for these storms, not just the storm in Florida, but there's other storms that are brewing after that. There's the wildfires in the West. Anything that is deemed this humanitarian crisis, we're gonna work on. And with the focus of the hurricane, with the focus of the storms, we're going to work on just holding that space and holding that light. Now, when we become aware of something like this, what happened for me was I was, over the past couple of days, it was all over my feed, all over my social media feed. And I even have a couple of clients who are in the Panhandle who have been affected and were evacuating. And so, what I've come to understand throughout my ascension journey is that when something comes into our awareness like that, it's almost like our universe, our awareness is like an algorithm itself. When it keeps popping up, there is a purpose, there is a reason for it. And here today, the weather is beautiful. The weather is out. The sun shines out. It's a gorgeous fall day. And it feels like such a stark difference to what other people are experiencing, including, the pain, the fear, the uncertainty that they're facing or that they have faced with the hurricane last week, for example. But when things come into awareness, there's a reason for it, there's a purpose for it. And it's either for us to take action or for us to hold the space if there's no action that we are able to actually take. I myself am not able to go down and be of support and be of help, but we can all help in our own little ways. And sometimes it's as simple as running a fundraiser. Sometimes it's as simple as collecting items for donations. Sometimes it's as simple as being on the phone with a friend who is in distress. Sometimes it's as simple as coming here, joining together in intention with a meditation to hold that light and hold that space for other people. The intention is what matters. The purity of the intention is what matters. And so I want to do a little bit of a channeling, and then we're going to do a little bit of a meditation to help kind of calm the waters, metaphorically and maybe even literally. But just to work with the water elements, work with the energy, and see if we can bring some healing and some holding of the space and holding of the light to the experiences that we're seeing globally in the world right now. When I was getting ready to do this, I called in two animals were called in. So Sirius energy we're going to be working with. Sirius energy is that water energy, that water element. But two animals came through. It was the dolphin spirit and it was the manatee spirit. And I have dolphin cards in my oracle decks. And I also have whale cards. We also had a sea turtle come in. I don't have a manatee card, but what was shared with me was the dolphin represents empathy, unity, and harmony, and the manatee represents guidance, peace, and protection. And I was seeing them kind of circling us. I was downloading the meditation to do, and that's what I was seeing. And we'll get to that. We'll get to the meditation in a little bit. We're focusing on Hurricane Helene, Hurricane Milton, hurricane season. There are other hurricanes in the Atlantic right now that are forming, that are moving towards Europe. There's other storm systems that are happening, but moving, as a disclaimer, we're not talking about politics here. We're not talking about any conspiracy theories. We're talking about the energy as a whole. Whatever is the cause of this, whatever is, happening politically and the division that we're seeing, the reason why we're here today is to bring through that unity consciousness. The reason why we're here today is to bring through that peace, to bring through that harmony, and to bring through more of that higher level consciousness, that energy, to be able to eradicate, again, any of the suffering, any of the fear, any of the uncertainty that is coming as a result of this. So with hurricane season, we're in the midst of a collective energetic storm. It is not just a physical storm that is the hurricanes itself with the water and the wind and, the debris and all that stuff. It is an actual energetic storm that we're experiencing that is manifesting in our physical experience. And it's up to us truly to center ourselves, balance ourselves, ground ourselves to be the calm in the chaos, to be the center of the storm. And you can apply this to your own life as well. When you are experiencing turmoil or upheaval, or what we like to call tower moments in your life, it can feel like a hurricane. Sometimes it can feel like life is being turned upside down and inside out. Sometimes it can feel like there is complete devastation and destruction. But Kelly Mott taught us that this is a cycle of creation, that we can't have destruction without creation. Creation can't come without destruction. We can't have beginnings without endings. Endings will always lead to new beginnings. So this is a cycle. This is a phase. This is a circle of our own evolution, and we go through many phases of our personal evolutions. And this is one that is happening on a collective scale. Um, there is a lot that I'm getting called to Mother Gaia. There's a lot that has been experienced with regards to Mother Earth. And there's a lot of upheaval that we as humans have created, especially when we're called to that division, especially when we're called to that separation. And the power of nature reminds us that we are actually one with the elements. We are actually one with Mother Gaia, with Mother Earth, with the planet as a whole. And our ascension journey teaches us that everything is interconnected, that everything is a living consciousness, different levels and frequencies of that consciousness, but everything is a living consciousness, and so everything is interconnected. We're all part of the whole. And what's happened is we have created that division and that separation within ourselves from each other. We're separate from each other. We've created divisions, we've created lines, so to speak, with each other, and we've created a division with how we interact with and operate in this with this planet, with Earth, feeling like we are connected with ourselves. What they're actually showing me now is the trees, and how the trees and their roots have a whole network in the root system with how they communicate with each other and how they communicate with the Earth. There is nothing that is not part of that whole. And that's something that we're being called to remember. And I feel like there is such drastic measures, and they're bringing through that term. It feels drastic because we're being called to remember the importance of the interconnectedness of all things, the unity of all things. It's like one working organism, and everything is part of that whole. And they're also showing me the body, how holistically that's how we operate, that's how we heal, that's how we grow, that's how we evolve. Our physical bodies, you have cells, you have atoms, you have blood, you have vessels, you have bones, you have skin. Everything makes up the whole for a working body, for us to be humans. Well, the same thing applies on grander scales. And so there's a lot of drastic elemental weather elements that are happening here, weather conditions that are happening here, to show us that we're not separate from that. We're not separate from the earth. And it's a call to begin treating each other and to begin treating the earth as if we are one working organism, as if we are all part of that whole. And again, the dolphins and the manatees coming in to show us that kindness, to show us that compassion, to show us that cooperation, to show us that unity consciousness. And so the more that we, through our individual ascension, the more that we experience that calm in the chaos, and the more that we embody and become that calm in the chaos. Again, your external circumstances might look destructive. It might look chaotic. It might look like there are tower moments that are occurring in your personal experiences. But the more that you become that calm, the more you embody that, and the more you express that in your life, the more you're leading by example. You're being the embodiment of that leadership. You're being that embodiment of that love. You're being the embodiment of that peace. And that's going to have a ripple effect. Everything is a ripple effect. And I know I use that term a lot, but that's the best way to show it. It's like there's building blocks, there's cause and effect, and all their choices that we make has an impact. And the more we're conscious of our choices, whether that has to do with the earth and how we're taking care of the earth, how we're taking care of each other, and even how we're taking care of ourselves, that's all going to have a ripple effect. And up until this point, they're saying we have operated very singularly, very individually, as a whole, as humanity. We have operated, there was a time where we operated, they're giving me the phrase, it takes a village, where we operated in unity. And you can see pockets in history where we operated in that unity consciousness. For example, other disasters, you can see us all working together and where we operated as one. But then we tend to go back and regress into those old unconscious patterns, into those old separation mindsets, into that old division. But this is a call to really establish that unity. This is a call to establish that cooperation. This is a call to establish that oneness. Because we can't operate in division anymore. We can't operate in separation. And we can't operate in singularity anymore. So this is about recognizing our own empowerment, our own power to be able to be part of the whole, because we're all part of the whole. So, everything that we experience on our ascension journey individually is also being shown to us on a grander scale, on a greater scale, that global scale. And so the more that we're able to bring it down to our own individual experiences, the more that's going to have a ripple effect on the collective consciousness, on our global experiences. So again, that's the importance of our ascension journey. The more that we're able to be that calm in the chaos, the more that we're able to tap into that peace, to tap into that love, to tap into that unity consciousness, the more that's going to have a ripple effect. And that ripple effect is what changes the timelines. Because that ripple effect, you look at it as your own individual life and the people in your life, maybe your friends and your family who are your most intimate connections. And then from there it expands to coworkers, and from there it expands to acquaintances, and from there it expands to maybe strangers that you met once upon a time. That's the ripple effect. It goes even from your friends and your family to their friends and family, to their coworkers, to their acquaintances, and then strangers that they've met. Everything is a beautiful woven tapestry of connection. And the more that we are embodying that love and operating in that love with the choices, the conscious choices that we're making, and the energy, the frequency that we're holding, the more that's going to have that ripple effect and impact those around us. And that's how it spreads. And just like hatred can spread, just like division can spread, just like fear can spread, so too can love, peace, cooperation, harmony, all these higher frequency energies. It can. We just have to embody that within ourselves. And that's where we're saying, allow yourself to keep your circle small. If the world feels too chaotic, if the world feels too big, if as an empath or as a highly sensitive person or somebody who's attuned to the collective energies, if it feels overwhelming, bring your world smaller and connect back to the calm within you. Connect back to God's source within yourself. Connect back to your soul. Connect back and ground yourself. Balance your energy. Center yourself. Because that's going to have the biggest impact. So there are two things that I want to share before we get into the meditation. The first is, as I was getting called to do this meditation and just thinking about the element of water, I was called back to last year when I was in Lourdes, France, and I was on the banks with one of my soul sisters, the riverbank at the grotto, and the sun was shining, and we were just relaxing and sunbathing, and I ended up doing a meditation and calling in Mother Mary. And Mother Mary shared something with me in that meditation. She said, all water is holy if we decree it so. And that's where, again, it's that energy of, it's not something outside of ourselves. It's not something that is dictated by somebody else. There is no outside authority. It is all within our power to recognize the divinity within ourselves, the divinity within others, to recognize the holiness within ourselves, the holiness within others, to recognize that unity within ourselves and the possibility of unity within the world. And it's a very specific phrase that they wanted me to say just then, the possibility of unity in the world. Because right now we're seeing that separation. Right now we're seeing that division. And so the more that we connect to ourselves, the holy waters of Lourdes, it was decreed as such, coming from, priests. That's the priests are the ones who, bless the waters, and that's what makes it holy. But we're at a time in our ascension where we're recognizing that there is no outside authority, that it doesn't come down to the middleman, that you have a direct connection to God's source. The God source is within you, not within anyone else, part of you. It's not, and when I say not within anyone else, I mean not within anyone else dictating to you. Again, there is no middleman. You have direct access to God's source. Everybody does. And so it's about you deciding, you becoming conscious, you recognizing that you always have been divine. It's not somebody that is proclaiming that over you. You don't have to go to somebody for attunements. You don't have to go to somebody for healings. You don't have to go to somebody for permission. That is all within you. It is your connection. And so with regards to these waters, for example, we have the ability to calm, especially being made up of like 90% water or something like that. We have the ability to calm the storms within ourselves. We're not seeking outside of ourselves for a savior. We're not seeking outside of ourselves for permission. We're connecting directly to ourselves and calming the waters within us. All water is holy if we decree it so, and thus we are holy if we connect and believe in that, if we connect back to our holiness, if we connect back to our divinity. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is the fact that just a week ago, I shared this in the Sacred Channeling Angels in the Sky on my YouTube channel, and how I had woken up from a dream. There were two significant dreams that I shared in that channeling. The first was that it felt like we were on a battlefield, and there was that spiritual warfare that was going on, and that's the division, that's the separation that we are experiencing. But there was light that was coming through, and we were all holding that light. And although we were battling, so to speak, it was like that light had already won, because we had decided it to be so, because we had consciously chosen higher timelines. A few nights later, I had a dream that I was looking up into the sky, and it was a beautiful clear blue, well, not clear, but it was a beautiful sky with big white puffy clouds. And there was the formation of a figure holding a sword. And I immediately recognized it as Michael. And I shared in that channeling as well that I had seen that picture before. Back in, I think, 2020, I had taken a picture and shared it on my Instagram feed, and I shared it in the video as well. That cloud formation, Michael holding a sword. And in my dream, I recognized him immediately as Archangel Michael, and then I looked around at the rest of the sky and all the other cloud formations, and it was filled with angels. And that was divine protection, divine support, and the shifting of timelines into higher timelines. That guidance allowing us or guiding us to shift into these higher timelines. Higher timelines are possible. And the more of us that are holding that peace, holding that light, and being that light, embodying that energy, that higher frequency, the more we're going to collectively shift. Because again, it is your energy that is impacting the world around us. It is you leading by example. It's not necessarily anything that you have to do. Do what you're called to do. For example, I was called to do a fundraiser. I have a collection of items that I'm getting ready for donation that I just don't need anymore, or that what happened was my insurance company gives me a catalog of things that I can order. And I have a large amount of money on that account that I just don't need. And so I ordered a whole bunch of medical supplies, and I have it ready to ship to donation to people who need it. It's something that I'm able to do. It's a way that I'm able to help. Other people might be working as far as, I saw someone was fostering animals from shelters so that the animals are not stuck in shelters. It could be, again, as simple. And I say the word simple, but it's not simple. It's not. It is the biggest thing that you could ever do. Just being on the phone with somebody who is in fear, somebody who's in distress, and just holding that peace for them, holding that space for them. Whatever it is that we're physically called to do, whatever it is that is called to support, that is called to help, that is embodying that unity consciousness, that is embodying that love, and that has an impact. And we might not be able to see the impact that it has for days, for weeks, for months, for years to come. But what we do now matters. And it's actually getting me really emotional because it's this energy of you are planting seeds for flowers, trees, gardens, forests that you might never get to see. You're planting seeds now by the energy and the frequency that you're holding for future generations. What we do matters. Who we are matters. The energy that we're embodying matters. The way that we love and hold that space within ourselves matters. And that's not to say that we're not going to, have moments where we're having ego trips and where we're getting into temper tantrums and when we're feeling discouraged or when we're feeling that same fear. We're very human. And that's when other people step up to support us. And we allow ourselves to receive that support. But when we come back to that place of connection, when we come back to that place of centeredness and groundedness and balance within ourselves, when we're in that energy, that's when we're meant to be holding the space and the light for others. And that's what we're meant to do here as humans. We are meant to be supporting each other and giving to each other and holding that space for each other. Sometimes we're going to be the ones that need that. Sometimes we're going to be the ones that give that. That is the beautiful energy exchange that we experience in this world. So what I want to do is a guided meditation that is going to be working with the water element, working with the water energies. You can feel free to call in whichever water spirit or energy that feels right to you. Like I said, as I was calling in this meditation, we had the dolphins, we had the manatees. We also had the sea turtle, which is really interesting because I was asking spirit what the sea turtle is all about. And the sea turtle felt like this energy of have patience, especially with the recovery efforts. And this could be, if you're applying it to yourself, have patience with yourself. The recovery efforts within yourself, have compassion for where you are in your journey. Have compassion for what you've been through and what you're going through. For example, if you've been through some kind of trauma, just like the people who are going through the hurricane, for example, this is a metaphor for what we experience within ourselves. Again, the storms that we experience within ourselves being shown to us in a global landscape. The sea turtle shows us to have patience within ourselves, and that as we are healing from collective trauma and or individual trauma and recovering, to have that compassion, have that patience, and allow yourself to take your time. You don't have to rush ahead. You don't have to be anywhere other than where you are, especially as you are moving through the healing process, because it is all a process, and the sea turtle reminds us that it is a process. And the more that we work in that unity, the dolphins, the more that we work in that peace, the more that we follow that guidance, the manatees, the more that we work together, the more that process continues to shift and there's momentum that builds. And that's what unity consciousness is. It's the building of the momentum of love, peace, harmony, compassion. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. And I know a lot of us light workers, we wish it would. We wish the world would change overnight. But this is how we create that change. We create that change first within ourselves. Then we begin to embody that. And we begin to act in that. And we make those conscious choices. Do we want to choose fear? Or do we want to choose compassion? Do we want to choose uncertainty? Or do we want to choose trusting our intuition? The more that we're consciously making those choices, that's how we change our very lives, our individual lives, but that's also how the collective energy changes too. Everything is interconnected. So feel free to call in whatever water energies or spirits you connect to. I was even guided to wear my little, I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of cute. I got this at the spiritual shop where I work. They have the dolphins on it. Yeah. And the dolphins are all in a circle like that too, displaying or embodying that unity energy. So dolphins, whales, manatees, you can even call in like mermaids or water sprites or whatever it is that you feel called to, whatever it is that you work with, or even any ascended masters that you work with. The Syrian energy, for example, Mother Mary, came through in that meditation on the banks of Lourdes. Whoever it is that you feel connected with, feel free to call them in because they're just going to help us to hold that space.